Now, you've looked at your reviews, your features. Remember, there's no number. I never say, oh, just find 5 reviews or 3 reviews. It's to collate as many as you need. What you're trying to do is to get a real sense of understanding. Now you've got that and you say, okay, I now know what Star Wars is. It's a 9-part multi-arc franchise story with various spin-offs, multi-platform films, web content, television, animation, comics, all which talk about the idea of oppression from an evil empire. And really it's a space opera. It's a combination of Western and science fiction and pulp adventure derived from the 1930s Flash Gordon series, as well as moments from Japanese cinema and science fiction. As ever, what we try to do is to sort of sell you this idea very much that you are a detective, and that's true actually. You're looking for information, trying to find information. Without that information, it's just your opinion. That's unimportant. Now, when I say people, P for people, don't just assume that directors that make films are authors. Sometimes that's not the case. Don't just assume that the first place you look at is the star. Remember, stars are employed on the behalf of creative people. Sometimes stars are part of the production staff, but that's maybe something for you to take on board and to research. Try to assess who the main contributors are, trying to sort that out, trying to find out who the real drivers, the people who generate meaning are. That sometimes can be quite difficult. I'll give you an example. Here's this man. He's Christopher Nolan. Many of you will know him as the director of The Dark Knight, Inception, Prestige, Tenet. He's really a mainstream director who works for Warner Brothers, and he's kind of holds the status of an auteur in that he writes and he directs and he produces and he generates material. Most people have heard of Christopher Nolan because his name is pushed at the forefront of selling the film. What Christopher Nolan's name does is kind of negate all of the hard work and all of the complexity of the production process. If you've ever sat at the end of a film and watched the credits just for the special effects technology alone, it's just vast. There's a vast army of people that go on to make films. And it's similar with television. It's similar with any large-scale institutional media product. So although Christopher Nolan will be the first place you start, he doesn't work entirely on his own. He works with Jonathan Nolan, his brother. He works with various producers, all of whom have contributed significantly to the work that he has made. He's really just the doorway in to a much more complex creative process. Who's this man? Many of you might not know. He's Isaac Perlmutter. And most of you will have seen a Marvel film. Well, Ike Perlmutter is a really fascinating character. He is the producer, or I suppose if you want, the overseer, the publisher of Marvel Comics. And he has, until fairly recently, owned much of the Marvel television output. He has also been at loggerheads with Disney over issues of ownership and control. He's not a name you hear an awful lot about, but he was a big part of Marvel surviving in the 1990s. And also, he worked with a guy called Avi Arad, both of whom, in many ways, brought about the beginning of Marvel cinema. Perlmutter's interesting. He's often quite a shadowy figure. Once you find out who he is, then you realise that not only is he one of the most important men in terms of production within Marvel, i.e. it wouldn't exist without him, but also he's one of Donald Trump's major backers. So then you've got this interesting story unfolding, which isn't just about Spider-Man. It's about corporate power. It's about control. It's about ownership. That might be a really interesting story. That's how deep you need to go. And in fact, maybe even deeper. You're trying to find that story. As with last time, is avoid obvious singular words. Consider lesser known creators. The main thing is there are a number of questions to ask yourself as you're going through various databases. You'd be asking yourself, what have these people done? Where do they come from? What are they known for? Why are they important? Who are their predecessors? Who are their influences? Who has taken influence from them? What have they influenced? Are they attached to a particular creative, industrial, or broadcast situation? Which will lead us into our next film. Are there any particular media stories or cultural stories that inform their reputations? Who do they work for? What's their agenda? Are there interviews with these people? Again, you can go back into our reviews and start finding reviews, interviews, features on these people that you found. As I said, it's an ongoing process where you accrue knowledge. Go deeper into each of these areas if you need to. There is no clear boundary. You decide the boundaries. What we're looking for is a quality and depth and pitch of research. So once you ask these questions, these lead to other questions. But remember, what you're trying to do all the time is kind of really ascertain, why does this stuff matter? Why should I be writing about it?